When developing Crash Team Racing, Naughty Dog did a lot of research and exploring for their product to be of its best quality. Is there any question that Mario Kart 64 was the best resource? Among other elements from that game, the items and their uses were analyzed to make what works. In this video, I'm talking about the items of Crash Team Racing and how much of their derivation is from those of Mario Kart. We're going to look at which objects from the Crash Bandicoot games, specifically the first 3 games, share similarities with the items of specifically Mario Kart 64. We'll also look at other Mario Kart items and whether or not they should be inspired for making new items for Nitro Fueled. First, let's look at the items unique to the Crash games that could be brought over most easily. First, there's the TNT crate. It's been around since the first game. If you happen to bump into one when you're in your kart, it's possible enough to get it off of you before it blows you up to a stop. But it requires quick thinking. Second to it is the Nitro crate. It's been around since the second game, and is always meant to be termed worse than the TNT crate. Touch it and it detonates instantly. That's more effective. Of course, that's why you get this crate instead of TNT, only when your Wumpa Fruit capacity is full. This one is the least likely, the shield. It's believed to be the one used by Dr. Cortex while he's confronted in the third Crash game. In any Crash Team Racing event, the shield protects you, but lasts only for a limited time, and it's green. But when you're at full Wumpa Fruit capacity, the shield is blue and can only wear out when you finish an event, or when you hit something, or you willingly use it to shoot. Now let's look at the items that turn out to be the counterparts of the Mario Kart items and compare them through their properties. This is a beaker with green potion in it. N. Brio throws these at you as you're battling him in the first Crash game. In Crash Team Racing, it shares all of its similarities with the banana peels. You can throw it forwards or drop it behind you. Whoever speeds upon one will spin out in a slip and slide fashion. It's just like in Mario Kart when any character drives over a banana peel. I bet the bananas have something to do with Donkey Kong. But effects don't stop there. When you're at full Wumpa Fruit capacity, the potion in the beaker you get turns red, and there's an additional effect. The victim spins out as usual, but also ends up driving much slower momentarily while under a small rainstorm cloud. Does that make you wonder if the Mario Kart developers can come up with varieties for the banana peel? Or does it make you wonder what ingredients are in the potions? As you know, this is a bomb, and it's marked with a skull and crossbones. In the third Crash game, bombs like this are encountered by Coco in the levels when she has to jet ski her way around pirate ships. These bombs in particular are seen floating in the ocean. There are also bombs fired out of cannons of pirate ships, but those bombs are a different color. Now the bombs used in Crash Team Racing look closer to the ones seen just floating on the ocean. It's a better choice. Is there anyone used to bombs that are not the closest to black? But with that out of the way, the features that the bombs share with the green Koopa shells is that they can be dispensed forwards or backwards, but they go in straight directions. The difference is, the bombs immediately explode once they hit something, whereas the green Koopa shells bump into a wall several times like a pinball until it breaks, unless they hit another item or a racer. But either green shell or bomb, if it's all you got to knock a moving target out of your way, you'll have to be close enough but not for too long for a lucky shot. You also ought to appreciate the additional feature that the workers of Naughty Dog added to the bombs. When launched, a bomb literally rolls across, and as it does, you hear the same sound effect as when you hear a bowling ball rolling down the lane heading for the pins. Hence, these bombs are termed bowling bombs. This may or may not be what a Crash Team Racing developer would have been thinking, but if Mario Kart can make 3 green shells at a time available for a player, why not Crash Team Racing do the same with 3 bowling bombs? You don't see Mario Kart characters utilizing these things, but they're there from time to time in the Crash games. These are tracking missiles. You don't see them until the 3rd Crash game. There are the missiles fired by battling N. Gin as you battle him in his brand new battle mech, and there are those fired by the robots of the futuristic Metropolis levels. And it's these particular missiles that you manipulate in Crash Team Racing. These missiles are meant to function as the equivalent of the red Koopa shells, as while the red shells have similarities to the green shells, they can curve and blast other opponents better because of their homing ability. If used correctly, a red shell can hit any racer no matter where they are. But that's not the case with these missiles. You got to be as close as possible to other racers to get them with your missiles, as well as hope that they don't leave behind some other item that your missiles would otherwise hit instead. Either red shell or missile, if it was you being chased by it, you either lure it out of your bounds or you get another item fast to counter it. Once again, may or may not be what a Crash Team Racing developer would have been thinking, but 3 red shells at a time means 3 missiles at a time. As Mario Kart 64 gave players a way to boost while drifting, a boost as an item was presented as well. A mushroom just so happens to be the representation of it. Crash Team Racing has its own method of boosting manually, which undoubtedly feels more rewarding for those who experienced it. But of course, I suppose they didn't want to forget to include the boosting to also be provided as an item just like Mario Kart. But as with the mushrooms in Mario Kart 64 and most of the other Mario Kart games, the boost item of Crash Team Racing, known simply as a turbo, cannot be seen on the track. It's just the icon of what's supposed to be an actual turbo. And when you use it, the icon is gone. But the Crash Team Racing Turbo has an additional feature. If you immediately run into another racer while your turbo item is used, there's a chance that you might flatten the racer. Surprise, surprise! What happens to you when you end up under a big boulder or giant rolling logs can also happen to you when someone collides with you while using a turbo item. I guess it seems a bit too freaky to be applicable in a Mario Kart game for the franchise that it is. Correct my philosophy that nothing happens to another racer in Mario Kart when you bump into that racer while activating a mushroom. This may look like an average stopwatch, but it's the icon of N Tropy's clock. Used strictly in races, and for whoever might be dead last, activating this item dazes all the racers ahead, which causes them to spin out, reducing their speed. For what it's used for, it's almost equivalent to the lightning item of Mario Kart. I said almost because the lightning also causes the other racers to shrink to half their size. The people at Naughty Dog probably thought it would be rather senseless to have their item to do that as well. Then again, it still fulfills the basic stuff that the lightning does, so it's still worth being classified as a counterpart nevertheless. If you're in the lead in a race, and you're thinking you're too far away for the others to take you down with something, this is like your worst nightmare that will cause you to think twice. The Warp Orb is what it is. You can start seeing these things in the third Crash game when Crash and Coco activate them to time travel. Warp Orbs were then brought in Crash Team Racing for something handy. But as with the clock item, it can only be used in races. Once triggered, a Warp Orb keeps going forward along the track until it flashes the leading racer up and down. Just for its intended use, it's made the great equivalent to the spiked blue shell of Mario Kart. This one has got to be an all-time favorite. Temporary invincibility. The star is the invincibility item of Mario Kart. It's been available in every Mario game that's had it, so it would be foolish to not bring it over to a Mario Kart game. As anyone can guess, it makes the user immune to items left on the track and thrown about. The user can even ram other racers with ease. As an added feature, the invincibility also enables the racer to go faster. I guess that to the Naughty Dog developers, upon reaching this point, invincibility is a must-have for Crash Team Racing. Aku Aku is an invincibility granter in the 3 Crash platformer games, and the developers agreed to use him again for their kart racing spin-off. In the process, they must have found it kind of awkward to have Aku Aku give Cortex invincibility when Cortex is an antagonist. But fortunately, they managed to solve it with Uka Uka. So they figured it out. Aku Aku supports Crash and all others on the side of good, and Uka Uka supports Cortex and all others on the side of evil. These two masks also respawn their respective characters whenever they suddenly end up off the track in some way. That tradition is carried on by the people of Beenox in Nitrofuel, but then they expanded it to the point of exceeding expectations. Oxide and all the alien-like characters are granted their invincibility and respawn from the Velo mask that is meant to have the same properties as Aku Aku and Uka Uka. When Spyro and related characters were added to the roster, they are aided by Sparks. To some extent, it's odd that it's directly Sparks as in the actual Dragonfly, but his functioning is equally efficient. And just when players thought they saw enough, the Rustland skins of selected characters were presented, and Beenox even came up with a 5th mask just for them. So Beanox kind of put their own twist into it, but at least they kept whatever was key. In the Mario franchise, this harmless ghost-like creature is called a Boo. It served different purposes in every Mario game and every Mario Kart game in which it was seen. In Mario Kart 64, a racer can become invisible in a race with the use of a Boo as an item. Crash Team Racing also grants players invisibility, but it happens only in battles, which makes more sense because what advantage does turning yourself invisible give you in a race? And I'm glad that Beanox did not change it for Nitro Fueled. This is called a super engine. It has no origin in the 3 Crash games as the regular Turbo, but it has some actually good use in Crash Team Racing. Commonly for use in battles but for online racing later on, a super engine grants its user constant boosting for a limited time. This makes it close enough to be the counterpart of the Golden Mushroom of Mario Kart, although the Golden Mushroom is seen more often in races. And last but not least, the Wumpa Fruit. This probably draws inspiration from the coins of Super Mario Kart. In a race, if you can collect enough coins, you will race faster. But if you end up out of bounds or you're hit in any way, you lose a few. The same can be said for the Wumpa Fruit in Crash Team Racing. Wumpa Fruits are a primary collectible in the Crash games, and the folks of Naughty Dog were absolutely right to have them collected in the kart racer as well as make them just as functional. But there is a standard with aspects on how it works. You can only hold 10 fruits maximum, but if you do that, not only will you go a bit faster, but your items to use against your opponents will be more effective. The explosion of bombs is spread a bit further, missiles have better aim, a warp orb flashes all other racers ahead of the user, and the effects of invincibility, invisibility, boosting via an item, and Entropy's clock last a bit longer. Isn't that added value or what? Does it make you think that Nintendo should do more with the coins of Mario Kart? This is certainly something for them to learn from. And now, let's look at most of the other Mario Kart items. Here's what they call a Super Horn. It only started showing up in the regular version of Mario Kart 8. Maybe it's an item that appears in only one game. With its one sound wave, you can use it to twirl nearby racers into a frenzy and cancel incoming projectiles. And even block blue shells, as that's its biggest purpose. If you're lucky enough to be holding a super horn at that moment, just before a blue shell is about to blast you on the spot, switch on your super horn and the blue shell is gone. There isn't really an item from the Crash Bandicoot games that makes the best counterpart for Crash Team Racing, is it? But of course you can resist the effects of the warp orb targeting you with either invincibility or a shield. For an experienced Crash Team Racing player, that's good enough. So in fact, there's no need to duplicate the Super Horn. In an average Mario platformer, it's a secondary enemy. But in a Mario Kart racer, it's referred to as an item. It's named a blooper. It's been around since Mario Kart DS. When a player triggers it, the other racers are affected and perhaps only them. A blooper appears in front of each of the racers and splats black ink on them as it means to hinder their vision of the track. If you are affected by a blooper, as it puts its ink on your character, some splats of ink also show up on the screen, so you can't see the track very well. There are ways to remove the ink though. What is there in a Crash Bandicoot game that has the best potential of being the perfect counterpart? And even if there is, if Beenox was to include an item that works like that for Nitro Fueled, who knows how much infuriation upon the players can be stirred up, especially while they're cruising with their sacred fire. So for the sake of preventing extra agony, an item to temporarily distort players' ability to watch where they're going is not very bright for Crash Team Racing. Now isn't this something rare? This is a PAL block. Its most renowned appearance is in Mario Kart Wii. This item is allowed for use for only those in the middle of positions. And if I explain it correctly, what it does in the game is earthquake the racers currently in front of you, causing them to spin out. Therefore, it has at least one property of the lightning item. So it can be seen why there should rather not be anything equal to it for Nitro Fueled. After all, there's N-Tropy's clock that affects all other racers, which actually feels better. Another secondary enemy in Mario platformers, recycled into items in Mario Kart, is Bullet Bill. And it's also been around since Mario Kart DS. Accessed by whichever racers are behind, they are turned into one to go at super speed. The more behind you are in a race, the faster you go as Bullet Bill. A downside is the control. You're steered along the track automatically, but it doesn't always work to your advantage. So it's a matter of where in the track it's safe enough to use it, if there is a safe section of that track. Enabling someone to go faster and being used by whoever is far behind are two properties of the Invincibility Star. Frankly, Nitro Fueled doesn't need anything to copycat Bullet Bill. Crash Team Racing has invincibility, which is already something good enough for going faster while simply driving, and it's a bit easier to control. I'm sure that a true Mario Kart player can recognize this image. It's a fire flower, used as an icon for every Mario Kart Flower Cup, and has been in the item's catalog since Mario Kart 7. Get one, and you can shoot fireballs at other racers to send them spinning as they burn. From understanding what I read, you either shoot 10 fireballs, or the ability lasts for 10 seconds if you choose not to shoot as many. Can Nitro Fueled copy that? There already are hazards in Crash Team Racing where a character can get burned. But can there be an item for burning a character in a race or a battle? And what's the best method for it? Shoot one fireball, blast fireballs in all directions from you? Leave a mark behind you for someone else to run over and get burnt? Unless there's a sure way, I can't see enough potential to copy the fire flower. This item takes the form of a pink heart. Used by only Peach and Daisy in Mario Kart Double Dash, they are granted 2 hearts. Each heart can pick up any of most items for them to use once in contact, whether on the track or already thrown. In some cases it serves defensive purposes. Maybe Nitro Fueled can try something like that. 3 hearts seem more reasonable. But then again, there's always an item box in every track that doesn't take too long to get if you're fast enough. If it can be said for a Mario Kart game, the same can be said for Crash Team Racing and Nitro Fueled. So an item for protecting from items and simultaneously picking them up and giving them to you is not as important. It's relatively pointless to have such an item accessible in another Mario Kart game anyway. That and why make the item look like a love symbol of all things? I should not forget this one. A wind-up walking bomb by the looks of it. A bob-omb is what it's called. Present since Mario Kart Double Dash, it's another one of those items which you use to throw at some other racer. One can imagine that it's the favorite item of Wario and Waluigi. It's the exclusive item for them in that game, that's for sure. Once left out on the road, it will explode after a while. Crash Team Racing already has explosives. From a personal perspective, however, I don't see any incentive for there to be one as a ticking time bomb. The TNT crate has a timer, but it's only triggered when you bump into it. So there's that. So to put it in words, a bob-omb, when used in a kart racer, has elements that remind you of a bowling bomb and a TNT crate. From here, you can figure out why an item like this should not be nitro fueled. No question that Crash Bandicoot has something related to this. The Piranha Plant is at first identified as a hazard in some Mario Kart tracks. But as of the regular Mario Kart 8, it's an item. When one is in use, it chomps nearby racers to slow them down. I doubt Nitro Fueled will ever do the same with the Crash Bandicoot version of this unfriendly plant. Only one Crash Team Racing track has several of these, and all they do is swallow any racer in one bite who comes too close to them. This is a Super Leaf, in its presence since Mario Kart 7. And before that, its icon symbolizes every Mario Kart Leaf Cup. Once activated, a temporary tail appears in the back of your cart and spins to protect you from certain items. Crash Team Racing doesn't have to duplicate that. There's already invincibility and a shield. What species of bird in the Super Mario Bros. Universe does this come from? This particular feather enables a racer to boost in the air, producing a high jump. This has benefits and consequences. Crash Team Racing in its demo version had a spring item with the exact function, but there wasn't really enough incentive to use it, so it was dropped in the final version. This has got to be an instance when Naughty Dog referred to Super Mario Kart. At the end of it, there was no need for a high hop item, and you gotta give it to Beenox for it kept that way in Nitro Fueled. Let's just call this one a Thundercloud. Only appearing on Mario Kart Wii, the very moment you get it, it immediately appears over your head and you boost continuously for 10 seconds. That's one element of the Golden Mushroom. But when the 10 seconds are done, You're shocked by lightning from the cloud and your size is reduced. Same element as the lightning element. Given the circumstances, your only chance is to hold on to it for as long as you can for the boosting effect, and then give the cloud to someone else for them to be shocked. An item with properties of other items that can give you an advantage but also give you an eventual disadvantage? You can already understand why that can never be applied in Crash Team Racing. But of course, I think you can also understand why Nintendo can't have this item available again in a Mario Kart game. I'm using this image to illustrate the item of the Poison Mushroom. Seen only in Super Mario Kart where it's used by all CPU-controlled players. A human player has a chance to use it, but only as a few select characters. If you drive upon it, you will have your size and speed halved. And there are only two ways to turn yourself back to normal. You either let another racer flatten you, or find another poison mushroom along your way. If an item with such a function was to appear in Nitro Field, I guess players will barely get along with it. I mean, how many human players of Crash Team Racing will absolutely not hate when they have to keep going with their characters minimized by an item with strict ways of renewal? And seeing that it hasn't made any more appearances on Mario Kart since then, I guess that the same can be said for even Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So not to say that the poison mushroom was a bad idea overall, or to criticize it for its rarity. An item that works like a poison mushroom is unmanageable to keep in Nitro Field because there'd be no one who would bear to end up with their characters minimized while there are strict ways of renewal that they can't come around. Also exclusive to Mario Kart Wii is the Mega Mushroom. Use it when you get it and you turn gigantic. You race twice as fast and flatten any other racer in your way. Suppose Nitro Field ought to have an item that gives you that power. Maybe it can be one of N. Brio's beakers with a different color potion. But I guess no one wants to risk themselves to become paper thin just so that they can continue enjoying their drifting and manual boosting. Also debuting in the regular Mario Kart 8 is the Boomerang Flower. The way this item is used is you throw a boomerang at a target 3 times. Pretty much the same function as the triple shells, except you use the same item again and again. Not only that, but throwing a boomerang while racing isn't easy, and it isn't always needed upon consideration. So boomerangs are out of the question for Crash Team Racing. Crash Bandicoot himself doesn't really use them anyway. And finally, the fake item box. Simply put, a regular item box with a different look. Most of the time, it has an upside down question mark. The racer in the lead has the best chance of getting one. Anyone who runs into it will be caused to flip in some way, and they are slowed down. First introduced in Mario Kart 64, it hasn't made a new appearance in recent times. Maybe the item was dropped because there wasn't any point for it to be on Mario Kart any longer. I wouldn't be surprised if I ever see an item exactly like this in Crash Team Racing. I would be surprised when I learned that the Naughty Dog developers ever intended the game to have one. But if it is in the game, it's easy to notice anywhere, and human players can avoid it effortlessly for the most part. So of course, no need and no point in having a fake item box in Crash Team Racing. This was such a list to go through. The items of Crash Team Racing and carried on to Nitro Fueled that work the same as the items of Mario Kart 64 seems signification that Naughty Dog took notes of Mario Kart 64 to make their product. Given that no lawsuit was issued by Nintendo, I guess Naughty Dog took proper precautions. So while Crash Team Racing was ordained to be different from Mario Kart, a shared commonality is that there are items that can turn the gameplay extraordinary. And even though the items of Crash Team Racing seemingly derive from those of Mario Kart 64, it still contributes to the game feeling like Crash Bandicoot like it should. With new items brought to the Mario Kart franchise, given that similar properties are shared with the other existing items and some of those properties result in the items overall being not as favorable, in conclusion, it is for the best that there be no counterparts for those items to have put in Nitro Fueled. So the items of Crash Team Racing and onward to Nitro Fueled, while having identical functions as the respective items of Mario Kart, are enough in quantity but are the best in their quality, have discernible differences that assure that no two items are alike, are free to be used for all players, and above all, give an extra advantage to players in a game, as is their purpose, but while ensuring that it is still under the identity of Crash Bandicoot.